Hi there, this is Joe from Signagelive, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can use the SharePoint News app to display news articles from your SharePoint sites on your Signagelive players. Now before we get started, in order to do this, it's worth noting that you will need the data integrations application on your Signagelive network. And once you have that, we're ready to begin. So as you can see here on my screen, I have a browser player. Now currently this does not have any content published to it. It has a green tick here and it is ready to receive new content. That new content is going to be in the form of some news articles from our SharePoint site. So jumping back over to my Signagelive network here, this is the player that we were just talking about. And we are going to go to the marketplace to grab the SharePoint News app. I'm going to go to Content, Playlists, Create and Edit, head to the marketplace on the left here. And in the top right, I'm just going to search SharePoint. Upon doing so, you'll see we're presented with plenty of options here. I'm simply going to select the SharePoint News app here, and that will present me with a bunch of templates. Which one you go with is up to you. In the case of myself today, I'm going to go with template 5. And I'm going to hit Add to Signagelive. Now, if I filter by recently added here, you'll see that SharePoint News template 5 is currently rendering. While that renders, I'm going to jump over to the data integrations application so we can start configuring the SharePoint integration. So we're going to go up to the top left here and click Data Integrations. Now immediately you can see there are a bunch of integrations that we have available here. I'm actually just going to search SharePoint once again. Click on the SharePoint integration and add that to the data integrations application. Now that I've got this added, I can click on this and we can go and manage it. Because what we need to do at this point, we need some data to be populated within the SharePoint integration here so that it can talk to that widget that we just added from the marketplace and add the data from our news site. So here we are in the SharePoint integration, and the first thing we need to do is go to accounts here. I'm going to add a new account by clicking the blue plus on the top right here. And I need to log in with my Microsoft account. Okay, so I've just logged in with my Microsoft account, which is currently not in use. That essentially means I haven't linked this to a sync job yet, which is what we're going to do now. Head over to the SharePoint tab on the left here, and again, click on the blue plus at the top here. That's going to allow us to add a brand new sync job. Before I proceed with this step, I'm just going to show you the SharePoint site that I'm configuring with this SharePoint integration. As you can see, I have a SharePoint site here, very simple. I've got two news articles on here, which are these two here. You can see I've got one that says out with the old, in with the news, and another one about Signagelive being deployed on BrightSign Series 5 devices. So if I scroll to the top here, you can see my site has been published, and take note of the site name up here, Joe's Test Site, because that is the site that we are going to link to the data integrations application in a moment. This SharePoint site has of course been created with the Microsoft account that I logged into just now. So I'm going to jump back over to Signagelive now, and from here we're going to continue configuring our sync job. So name for the sync job, I'm just going to call this Joe Test. You can call this whatever you want to call it at this stage. Synchronization schedule, that is how often you want the data integrations application to talk back to Microsoft and pull down new data. In my case, I want this as frequent as possible, so I'm going to set that to 5 minutes. Scrolling down even more, this is arguably the most important part of this, which is the capture. So what we need to do is link this to the Microsoft account that we just added the credentials for, and then we can start pulling in the data from the site that we will then select. So I'm going to select my account. At this stage, you can hit the green Add Account button there, and that will allow you to add a brand new account. And now we've paired our Microsoft account here, this will present us with all of the sites that we have available. If I select the drop down here, you can see we've got plenty of sites available, and the one we want is Joe's Test Site. So the max items drop down, that's going to be the max amount of news items that we are going to display within our widget when it is displayed on our players. In my case, I've only got 2 as I showed you, so I'm going to leave this as 20 for now. Now this part's important, max age days. So it's worth noting that those news articles on that SharePoint site that I showed you earlier, those news articles were actually created longer than 30 days ago. So in my case, I'm going to want to up the days here to 120 in this case. I'm not sure exactly when I posted them, but I know that they are older than 30 days. So in order for those news items to actually be populated in the data integrations application, I need to make sure that this sync job is looking within the correct date range. And once we've filled this out, we can hit refresh preview down here. And what that's going to do is populate the news articles from my site. As you can see, it's pulled in the two that we discussed earlier, out with the old, in with the news, and the Signagelive on BrightSign Series 5 article. And at this stage, we can scroll up and we can hit save. And now our sync job has been set up, we need to enable the sync. So let's go back to SharePoint over here on the left. You can see that the status is sync off. I'm going to click on the 3 dots under the action column here, and I'm going to click Start Sync. So now when we hit the range that I set earlier, and in my case that was 5 minutes, the first sync is going to happen, and the sync job will begin returning screenshots, or information in our case. Now that's been configured, we're going to jump back over to the playlist editor and see how our app's getting on with its rendering. We're back on my player dashboard. I'm going to go to Content, Playlists, Create and Edit, sort by recently added. And as you can see here, I've got SharePoint News Template 5. Obviously we've got Template 7 here because I added another one earlier, but Template 5 is the one that we are interested in today. I can now drag and drop this over to a playlist, and this is going to create a new playlist in my case. I'm going to double click on that now, and now I can edit the properties for this. And immediately it has pulled through the news feed for Joe's test. Of course, if I were to click here, if I had configured more sync jobs other than Joe's test, then I would find more of the sync jobs here and I could select them freely. The second drop down we have here, duration. That is how long each story is going to appear on screen as the app cycles through each of the news articles. In my case, there's only 2, as I said, so I'm going to leave this as 10 seconds. Now, once you hit refresh in the top right here, it is worth noting that this preview on the left here isn't actually showing you a preview of your particular news articles. These are just a set of preview articles, so do not fear if you don't see your articles at this stage. When we publish this to our player, we will then see our articles. So I'm just going to change the duration of the widget while I'm here. I only have 2 stories, but I've left the duration of each story as 10 seconds. So in order to cycle through both of them, I want to make sure that I've got at least 20 seconds here for each story to be displayed on screen. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to save my playlist, and I'm going to call this Joe SharePoint New Test. Hit save, and we are ready to publish at this stage. But before I do that, I'm just going to jump back over to data integrations once again, because I want to check that my sync is working for my sync job. So here we are back in the data integrations application. I'm going to click on the SharePoint integration and hit manage. And immediately, as you can see here, the status is syncing and we've got a nice big green color there. So that means that we can now have the confidence that when we have set up a SharePoint News app and we have selected this particular sync job, we can then publish this to our player and know that the stories included are going to populate within the app. So let's jump back over to Signagelive now, and then we can get this published to our player. I'm going to go Content, Publish, when nothing else is scheduled. What do I want to publish? A playlist. I'm going to go to recently updated, and Joe SharePoint New Test is the one that we want to publish here because that's the one that contains our widget. That is also linked to the sync job that we have set up. We're going to scroll down, go to step 3, select players, and we're going to select my player here. And I'm going to hit publish. Okay, so I've waited a few moments on my dashboard here. I can see my content indicator has gone green. That means that my content should now be displayed on my player. So let's jump back to my browser player and see my SharePoint News app in action. And there we have it. Here you can see I am on the tab with my browser player, and you can see that my SharePoint News articles from my site are cycling through every 10 seconds. I hope you found this video useful today. If you have any more questions about SharePoint News, please do let us know and we'd be more than happy to help. We'll see you on the next one.